Welcome back to the Millcreek Government Channel. I'm Jessica Stutzman. Viewers will recognize our next guest by their soft pink and white ribbons in their logo. But what you may not realize is that this organization is a local nonprofit that has been offering our community support for over 15 years. With us today is Linked by Pink's Executive Director, Christy Seth. Christy, thank you so much for joining us here today. We're very excited to talk about what your organization has to offer our community.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so again, if our viewers do not recognize the ribbons, please tell us who Linked by Pink is.
Of course. So Linked by Pink is a local nonprofit. As you said, we were established 15 years ago by breast cancer survivors amidst their own breast cancer battle. And here we are 15 years later, still being run by breast cancer survivor volunteers and offering services such as support groups, grants, and many more things.
Mm-hmm. And this is a real sisterhood of, like you said, survivors who have come together, women who are going through it currently, and you're a support network for each other. You're a village, a tribe for each other and each other's families. You mentioned a couple of the services. Do you want to dive in deeper specifically on how those services are offered, how often, how they can benefit some of our viewers?
Absolutely. So one of the main services that we offer is a support group. And that looks a couple different ways, I suppose. We have a monthly support group, which is a peer-to-peer support format, and that's offered. Our meeting headquarters is the Erie Cancer Wellness Center, which is just a tremendous resource. We've been fortunate to be able to call that our home for meetings for the last year now. And then we also have an online private group where we're able to put questions in, just ask for support, you know, put on a inspirational quote or something like that. Our girls kind of put everything in there. And then in addition to that, something that I think sometimes doesn't get talked about a lot is our co-survivor support group. So we also have a group that is designated for any partners, loved ones, anybody who is fighting alongside that survivor or thriver.
And I think that's fantastic. I think when you have, you know, again, you have your person who is going through the traumatic health condition that they're going through, and then the co-survivor doesn't know how to help them. They don't know what to say. They don't know what's left to be said, you know? So I love that you offer that to them as well, because they want to be there, they want to be supportive, and I think sometimes they just don't know how.
Yeah, and I know that this group really helps with that, and a lot of the feedback we've received as well is that, you know, a lot of times they're having a lot of emotional struggles in response to what their loved one is going through, and not wanting to put that stress or worry on the person while they are fighting, but they need their support too. And so this has been just a really helpful resource for a lot of family members in the community as well.
Yeah, it certainly would be. So how often are these meetings?
So we have monthly meetings. We meet the first Wednesday of every month. Traditionally, we are at the Erie Cancer Wellness Center, and it's just an open format. Sometimes we do have guest speakers. And then sometimes we have what we kind of call our fun meetings. For example, in July, we do a ladies' night out. September, we were fortunate to be able to have what we call our co-survivor meeting, where everybody gets to bring their person, their support person, and we celebrated our 15-year mark, so that was a lot of fun. And then we have a holiday party. So sometimes they look different, but our traditional format is meeting every Wednesday, or every first Wednesday of the month. At the Erie Cancer Wellness Center. Yeah,
and again, this village, this community that you've built, and you've got the spouses and the significant others, but it also involves, you know, meeting people's kids and families and moms, and, you know, there's so many layers to this particular family, and everybody is leaning on each other in different phases of their life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So, we have survivors that are not only in different phases of life, but they're in different phases of treatment. We're fortunate to have some members who are 20 years out from their original diagnosis, and that's so important. And then we have many members that were just starting families or raising young families. I know my kids are always running around at different events, so they're kind of been designated mascots or Link by Pink members, I guess, by association. But yeah, so we're really fortunate to have not only our members who show up and volunteer and do not hesitate to help a newly diagnosed member or woman, but also many of their family members, friends, community members.
And because of the grant funding that you receive, is there a specific age range of survivors that you're able to help?
So our grants at this time, we're offering grants to women diagnosed 50 and under, and those come in the form of, we have medical grants, we have living expense grants, and we have travel grants. So somebody who's in active treatment can apply for all of those grants. And they can be used for medical expenses. People, even with insurance, cancer and it can be a very expensive diagnosis, and people can be surprised how much is not covered. So the medical grant can be used towards that. We have living expense grants that help to pay for rent, mortgage, utilities. We have grocery cards. So there's a number of grants that we're able to offer. And actually this year was a huge milestone for us. We actually crossed over the $500,000 mark in grant distributions. So since the beginning of Link by Pink, we have distributed over $500,000 in grants to local women and their families.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's staggering.
Yes.
You have to be so proud of all the work that you guys have all put in to be able to redistribute this back out to your members and to the community.
Yeah, and I'm so proud. I'm also just so grateful and honored that I can speak to that and represent Link by Pink. Because I definitely wasn't here in the beginning when we started, and I know how much heart has been put into making sure that Link by Pink got to this point.
Yeah. So what does your staff look like? Do you have full-time staff members? Do you have volunteers? How do you receive those grants? Who applies? That's a lot of work.
So our grant programming is all reviewed by our directors. We do not have a staff per se. We have a board of directors that we operate with, but basically we're volunteer run and we're survivor run. So we were built by breast cancer survivors, and we continue to be managed by breast cancer survivors. So again, volunteers, our members are volunteers. We have a number of community members who show up for us, especially with October just around the corner. So
yeah. With October around the corner, do you guys have anything special planned?
We have so much planned. So I will say, Link by Pink has one fundraiser that we do a year that is our tradition. So in February, we have our bowling tournament, and that is something that typically happens every year. We had a few off years, as I think most people did.
The COVID years.
Yes, yeah. But all the events that are happening this month were not our doing. We have had, I can't even tell you how many outreaches and calls this week of businesses, community members who are planning different events for us. Wow. I think there are 4 happening in this week alone. Wow. So tomorrow we'll be at a 5K with the Gannon DPT students, and next week the 6 Packs House of Beer is doing a pink beer special. So they are just popping up all over.
That's fantastic and incredible, and I absolutely love our local businesses for doing stuff like that.
I know, it's just amazing. You know, it feels like we can't express enough what it means for us because we know what goes into these events. You know, especially with our bowling tournament, we know how much work and effort and time goes into it. So to have a business or a community member say, I want to put on this event and I want the funds to go to Link by Pink, means so much to us. And it's also how we continue to do what we do. That this is our primary funding source for our grants, are the different fundraisers and donations that we receive from our community.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I just want to talk about what it means to the people, to the recipients of the grants. So when they receive, like you said, the medical or the housing or any of the grants that you're able to offer them, what does it mean to them?
Well, I can speak from personal experience because I was a grant recipient. You know, a cancer diagnosis is heavy in so many ways, and there's so many layers to it. And there's a lot of stress and anxiety and worry. For me, I was pregnant. I had a toddler at home. My family, we just bought our first family home. So there are all these worries of how am I going to be able to work? How are we going to manage this? How is this going to impact us financially? And receiving that grant allowed me to just breathe a little easier and not worry so much. You know, to have your mortgage covered for a month is just a weight that I can't even, you know, put it into words how much that means. And I know that many of our members have shared similar sentiments. You know, we have people who have been at risk of losing their housing because they haven't been able to work because of treatments.
And that's what I was going to say too. I mean, it you know, yeah, when you're having treatments and everything, then, you know, you aren't able to go to work. You might not have enough sick days, so you might be taking time off without pay. And yeah, then how are you supposed to pay the bills at that point?
And it's a really common experience across the board. We also have members that, you know, they have to pick and choose. You know, I'm being recommended that this treatment or going through this program will really help me in my health, but I have to choose between am I going to pay these bills or am I going to pay for this expensive arm sleeve to deal with my lymphedema? You know, so. It's definitely a challenge and a stressor, and I know that we wish that we could pay all the bills, but I know that even this little bit that we're able to help with has been a tremendous relief.
Yeah,
for the recipients.
Between your fundraisers and what the community gives to you, does that equal the $500,000 that you're able to distribute back out then?
Yeah. So every year we at the end of the year, once we know what our budget is, we identify how many grants we're able to distribute for the next year. And so we're always trying to kind of build funding sources and look through new avenues. But again, it's a lot, you know, it's a lot to be able to maintain those funds, but yeah.
And so if we have viewers out there who are going through breast cancer treatments, they're working through it right now and they want to become a part of your organization, how do they do that?
So there are a couple different ways. Our Facebook group, we're on all social media and people can message us that way. Sometimes that feels more comfortable. They can of course call us. Our number's listed on our website, which is linkbypink.org, and all of our contact information is there as well as on our Facebook and Instagram. But also our email. We get a lot of outreach by email. I think sometimes that's easier, but that's info@linkbypink.org.
Okay, perfect. I really want, and we'll probably mention it again before we end the show, but I really wanted viewers to know, watching how they could reach out there. This is going to strike a chord, I know, with some people. You just mentioned it, but did you want to share any more of your history and how you got involved with Link by Pink?
Sure. I mentioned, I was pregnant. I was 33 years old, and I had a little one at home already. Fortunately, I was pregnant at the time because I was seeing a provider pretty regularly. And I mentioned a lump, and I was fortunate to have a very responsive provider who I hold very dear to my heart, who said, we're going to get this looked at, and you're going to have a baby, and we're going to be good. So unfortunately, it came back that it was breast cancer very quickly, and at every contact with providers, as I was kind of preparing for what my treatment would look like, I kept being told, you should really check out this Link by Pink group. You should really check out this Link by Pink group. And I eventually, I think I had a baby first.
One thing at a time.
Yes. And I did send a message. I believe I took the Facebook route, and just said, I was recently diagnosed. And within weeks, I had one of their directors, one of our original founders, Norma, at my house with one of our comfort bags that we deliver to women who are newly diagnosed, and just able to kind of talk to me about what Link by Pink is, and kind of answer any questions, ease any fears I was having in the initial steps. And I eventually went to a meeting a few months later, and I've been a member ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I know, again, when you get a diagnosis like that, you're probably in shock first. And I'm so glad you had Linked by Pink to turn to, and now you're the spokesperson for this organization. So I know it means so much to the community that you're doing this.
Yeah, it means so much to me. When I was going through my own treatment, I would attend some events, and we have the Pink Fountain event is coming up on Thursday, and that was one of the first events I went to that I was like, one day I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
One day I'm going to do this. I felt so empowered by hearing these stories, and just that's kind of our motto at Link by Pink. Once you've fought your own battles, you turn around and you help the person behind you.
Yeah.
And many of our women are still in their battles, lifelong battles, and continue to volunteer and help. So they're all such an inspiration.
Yeah, and you guys are all paying it forward with, with your knowledge, with your care, with your love. So I just want to thank you so much for being here today. Is there anything you wanted to share, because our show is coming to a close, is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up today?
I would just say, I already mentioned how to get in touch with us, but find us on Facebook, send us an email, info@linkbypink.org. There's no commitment, but if you're questioning whether you qualify for a grant or if a meeting would be a good fit for you, we're happy to talk with you by phone or meet in person, and just really help to make you feel more comfortable.
Christy, thank you so much for being here with us today. I thought I knew what your organization did, and I learned so much here today. So I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Viewers, again, that was really an inspirational show for me here today, and if you're a local business, I really want to encourage you to hold a fundraiser for Linked by Pink. I think that breast cancer is so close to a lot of people here in our community. So I can't express enough how much this means to the women in our life who are trying to survive breast cancer. So I want to thank you for tuning in to today's show, and until next time, have a great day.